Hi, welcome to Health Directions discussion of holiday stress, or how I describe it, it's just another family dinner. We talk a lot about stress and feeling stressed, but what is it? Stress is a very real physical response. Our bodies are sending a message that something isn't quite right. Stress can be feeling anxious or depressed, or a combination of both. The symptoms can be felt initially for a brief moment, or they can accumulate. You could feel jittery or jumpy. You could have difficulty sleeping, which could be difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. You could feel angry, feel pressure, feel like you could burst, feeling sad and disconnected, worthless or empty. Sometimes people who are stressed stop enjoying events. It's kind of putting one foot in front of the other and just going through the motions. People occasionally have racing thoughts, feeling unfocused, unable to complete projects. Stress can cause impairment in functioning, sometimes just stuck and unable to do anything. This isn't just all in our head. The physical response is very real, and our bodies have something we think is dangerous. Our bodies respond by a flight or fight mechanism. If we were to measure what's going on when we're feeling stress, we would find our blood pressures elevated, our body temperature goes up, we feel clammy and sweaty, difficulty breathing, and some people have an upset stomach. The physical issues can lead to behavioral changes. It might be changes that you notice on yourself or changes you notice in someone else. These can be related to stress, but also other things. Behavior changes such as isolation when it's a change can be linked to stress. Isolation looks like somebody just doesn't care. Maybe someone sleeps a lot, they play video games, read, or become immersed in TV instead of connected to the people around them. Some people begin to use substances more frequently, maybe losing a bit of control over their use because they're not focusing on how much they're using, but their mind is constantly focusing on whatever's causing them stress. Other behavior changes could be eating too much or too little. Sometimes people lose their appetite. Other times people lose control and begin to overeat. Sometimes people sleep too much or too little, especially when people are up in the middle of the night. This is occasionally related to feeling stress. Emotional changes that people could go through would be tearfulness over small things that seem insignificant, or anger outbursts at family members or friends. Please keep in mind the holidays can be difficult when we've lost a loved one. Some of the changes can be related to grief and loss as well. Well, why? Why do we feel stressed at this time? Well, it can be related to grief and loss, just missing someone that you love. There's no time frame for grief, so sometimes our feelings of stress are related to just feeling like you're missing someone. But holidays can also trigger past feelings. Triggers are when something in your environment puts you back into another time frame. It could be a smell. It could be hearing certain songs, maybe the colors or the Christmas lights. It could be weather. It could be, just seeing the first snowfall or eating certain foods. Triggers can be good and enjoyable, or they can make us feel sad. Again, it depends on what we associate with those songs or smells. There are specific things that our senses connect to Christmas, and they can cause a bit of stress individually, but then when we start to accumulate a lot of stress, these are building blocks to more problems with behavior and feelings. We can be fine and manage stress, and then once a holiday get-together happens, things become overwhelming. And then when we throw the bad weather in there, that even adds to it more. Well, why at holidays? Past experiences are heightened during these multifamily events. Families all have discord and conflict. It's just a fact of life that people have difference of opinion. They have different ideas. And just because it's a holiday doesn't mean it's a break from normal and the very real behavior that people have. So don't expect it to be any different on the holidays. Sometimes our expectations are that this is just, we're going to focus on the Christmas holiday and everything will be perfect. That's not realistic and can cause more disappointment. And that leads to the next thing, which is feeling disappointed in relationships, feeling like you can never get someone's approval. Many times people have unmet emotional needs that are magnified during the holidays. People are the same. Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, we are who we are no matter what the day is on the calendar. And if your family isn't able to meet your emotional needs, it's not going to be any different because of the day on the calendar. Some people just have mental health or addictions issues that impact the entire family. This doesn't go away at Christmas either, just as if a person has a medical issue like diabetes, it doesn't go away at Christmas. So without good treatment, mental health and addiction disorders can make family get-togethers much worse. Well, why during holidays? It really isn't just a family dinner. From early November, we're bombarded with acquiring everything. We need to be shopping and decorating, baking, watching TV specials, all about how wonderful these holidays are. That pressure from the media adds to our stress. And then we add to it our self-imposed pressure. We begin to feel that we're inadequate unless we purchase more, decorate more, behave in a specific way that matches the media expectation versus our own family behaviors. Some families are more comfortable with staying in pajamas all day and playing games together. Other families would rather watch football together. Still others are only comfortable when they have a formal dinner and everyone's dressed nicely. Recognize that any of these are okay. When we try to be something different, that's when the disaster starts. Many times all this leads to spending too much money, whether on gifts or decorations or on oneself. Then the guilt related to the money can add to your stress. Can we avoid it? For the rest of the discussion, we're going to try to focus on changes that we can make to avoid the stress. These are not easy. It's like swimming upstream, but we're going to be battling the force of the current and the way we respond. It's possible to overcome the perfect storm of the holiday stress. We can learn new ways to respond, change our thinking, which will change our emotional and behavioral response, and we're going to change our behaviors. Changing our thinking changes behaviors. Past problems don't go away. It's important to recognize that we are made up of all of our past experiences. It's what makes us ourselves. Many times people feel that they can just talk to a friend and get the same result they could get in talking with a counselor. Remember how important our friends are to be just our friends. It takes a very smart and strong person to give guidance to make the changes that are needed to overcome a lifetime of stress. It can be destructive to a friendship to give the honest feedback that's needed to make these changes. We're talking about changing your life by changing your thinking. Let's recognize that all families have problems, issues, and disagreements. They all have hot-button topics that just evolve into disagreements and arguments. It can be difficult through marriage to recognize that different families interact differently. And so a new family, your new involvement with a family in marriage, they all have acceptable ways to interact. These rules are not written, and you're not going to know what they are. So why can't we be like everyone else? Well, not everyone's alike. We shouldn't be, and we're not. It takes time to learn to find joy and accept what you have. We can change ourselves and our response, but we can't change anyone else. Sometimes people ask, should we end our family dinner since we have so much turmoil? Well, there are times that we need to put a stop to family dinners. These would be whenever there's a safety issue, whenever people who are working on addiction recovery, it's not a good idea to attend a family dinner when others are using. But rather than ending in all circumstances, it might be helpful to set some limits to begin with, because our families are our families, and ending those dinners can also have long-term emotional consequences. Well, new responses in family relationships. How do we do this? When you know what your triggers are or what the hot topics are in your family, you can begin to set limits. This might be learning to change the subject when a certain topic is brought up. When you identify what your hot topics are and what family arguments are triggered by, you begin to regain some control. This is what it means to feel empowered. When you know yourself and you recognize how you impact other people, you begin to gain control over your life. Sometimes the limits might be time limited. Many times 2 to 3 hours is a long time for our family to be together on a holiday. It might be just starting to limit that time and recognizing that hour and a half is good enough. We're going to leave right after that. It might be limiting the topics to discuss. If politics always causes an argument, don't bring it up. Feeling empowered and in control will happen when you're able to identify the limits, stick to them, and find success in your interactions. I encourage you to keep this kind of a secret. You don't want to let everyone know that you're limiting discussions, but what you do want to do is practice ahead of time. Practice makes habit. You can't just expect to respond differently, but practicing with a friend or practicing alone in your home on how to do some of these things is going to be helpful. So if you want to learn how to change the topic when people begin to talk about something mean-spirited, practice with a friend. Practice on your own. That way you'll be able to keep with the limits when the time comes. I encourage people to avoid alcohol if there's a family, if you have a history of family discord. This helps you to keep the ability to think clearly. When you want to make changes in your life and feel less stress, sometimes it's necessary to work harder to maintain control. Avoiding alcohol and other substances keeps you in control. When our inhibitions are down, that's when sometimes our filters are gone from saying things that we shouldn't say. There are a few things more difficult than an embarrassment during a holiday get-together. Think about that and practice limiting what you're going to use for substances. There are also legal consequences and physical risks to overindulging in alcohol and other substances. Stick with a nice glass of ice water and have an extra cookie for the calories that you're saving. It really does help to reduce the stress by changing our focus. We can begin to do this by recognizing our family dinner is an important time, but it is just a dinner. We can change it from an internal me focus to an external focus. What's the purpose of getting together? How can I help someone else in this time? Instead of the goal to have the best family dinner and this time we're going to all get together, maybe plan to donate some food to the local food pantry, donate some gifts to a charitable organization, help another family out. This reduces your pressure from having all the stress on being perfect to Focusing externally. Focus on what it's all about. A time of holiday to recognize the it's a time to recognize the good things we have in our life. Reducing spending will change the focus on trying to buy the best holiday possible and the best gifts for everybody, to thinking about what's really important. Set limits and stick with them. Teach your children to care for others by donating time and gifts and helping them to see the benefit of this. Skip perfection. We often think, will this impress my in-laws? Will this impress my children? This will finally satisfy me. Instead, when we get caught up in having the perfect Christmas, it usually is because our focus is, again, on the wrong thing, on ourselves. When we try to fill the emptiness in our lives with the bright lights and the pretty wrappings, we often find ourselves emptier after it's over. It's rarely lasting satisfaction when you purchase things. Although it's impressive, we can't feel long-term satisfaction for that. Ask yourself, what is acceptable and what is fulfilling to me? What will I have in 2 months? Just the bills? Just extra pounds from all of the food I ate at the parties? How do I get long-term happiness? Let go of the perfection to reduce your stress. Find a good counselor. It's not too late to implement new responses. Focus on what your true meaning of Christmas is. Be loving, volunteer, care for others. Work on these things before the holidays. It's not too late. You could work on them after the holidays are over to help work through the disappointment, the overdue bills, and the guilt associated with all of the holiday fiascos. I'd like to thank you for joining us on our webinar. If you have any questions, you can contact us through the email address on the screen. If you're interested in setting up services, you can also call the number on the screen to work with a counselor or a life coach on how to overcome some of the stress in your life. Thank you. It's muted.
You are good. You are good.
I'm done.
Thank you so much.
I lost my place. I had a slide out of place. I reached and I'm like, where'd it go?
Oh,
I had
it
to
was a
make
quick
it up.
pause.
Yeah.
Oh, it was good. You had to make it up? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice you made it up. That was good. It was really good.
Thank you.
Okay, now you can just
It's stop though. It was.